I'm Enrico Gruen, and this week on Second Nature, amnesia. For patients, it's a terrifying nightmare. For neurologists, it's a window into the human brain. And for politicians, it's their only hope of getting reelected. Greetings, prisoners of gravity. This is Commander Rick, a fleeting figment of my own imagination. Ever notice how selective memory is? For example, when I think of Philip K. Dick's novella, We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, I remember a powerful science fiction story about memory and identity, while my computer Nancy remembers the film version, Total Recall, as a gratuitously violent piece of junk. So this week, let's look at memory, human and otherwise.
Rising anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe has voted English-only sign. 40,000 tons of armed with PCBs blew up the ozone layer today.
Standing by for solid rocket booster separation.
One of my earliest childhood recollections is of being a kid during the Depression. No, of being depressed as a kid. My one joy was reading the funny pages with all the comic strips about kids. Peanuts, Dennis the Menace, Miss Peach. Since the paperboy won't deliver up here, no matter how much I tip, my earthbound friends have been faxing me up Ernie Pook's Comeek. This wonderful strip by Lynda Barry chronicles the childhood of Marlis. Hi, Lynda, it's Rick. I'm exploring memory this week, and so I have to ask you, what brings back childhood memories for you?
Memories, I think, tend to cluster around, if you're a writer or a drawer, memories tend to cluster around nouns. I find they cluster around nouns. I mean, people say they're in music and they're in smells, but nouns are real good. Like, the whole trick is to try to remember something in a different way than you've remembered it before. So, like, if I say we're gonna remember your life in shoes. So, and in 10 shoes, or 10 pairs of shoes that you can think of, we're going to get to from you were born till now. So the first thing we'll write down is I was born, and then you think of 10 pairs of shoes, right, whether they're yours or somebody else's, but you do them in chronological order. In doing that, you're going to think about a pair of shoes you haven't thought about forever, maybe the ones you didn't like that your mom got you, a big old fight you had, and that way you'll come to some sort of memory that you normally wouldn't come to.
That's brilliant. But your strip is so full of memories. How do you squeeze it all into only 4 panels?
It's a trick. It's magic. By magic, you know, it's a trick. I mean, that's the cool thing about kids is because the way they use language is so different that they actually end up telling a longer story by their crooked English sometimes. And so I try to make use of that. It's not only in what they're saying, but it's in how they're saying it and what that infers. So you can get a longer story. Also, if you put something in that's going to make somebody remember something of theirs, the story will seem twice as long. Because then you're remembering your version of it. So you think I wrote it down somehow, you know. Memory's nice that way. It really fills in the blanks.
But how do you make your memories in the strip trigger mine as I'm reading it?
My memories, or the memories of my character, which is more like it, are, I mean, they have a lot in common with what almost anybody went through. And childhood has specific things that never change, such as the fact that you can't leave your neighborhood till you're about 10 or 12. So everybody knows I mean, you can think about it. When you can remember the doorknobs in your house. You can remember if you think of the dresser drawer you had when you were a little kid, you can kind of remember what the handles were like. I can't remember what the handles on my dresser were like in college, but I know exactly what they were like when I was a kid because I couldn't go anywhere for 10 years. I was like in prison for 10 years,
right.
You know, on these 10 square blocks. We're built in a funny way. We're built that way for a reason, you know. I mean, I think it's important that we have the continuity of our lives always presenting itself to us. And that's what I like about doing memory work, is I feel like that's what the work gives people, is this feeling that they're connected to their childhood.
Thanks, Lynda. Take care. childhood memories also surface occasionally in comic books. As a boy, Bruce Wayne witnessed the murder of his parents, and that painful memory drove him to become the Caped Crusader. Of course, a childhood trauma doesn't automatically lead to a career in spandex. In the graphic novels Violent Cases and the upcoming Mr. Punch, Neil Gaiman has been probing his childhood memories in a semi-autobiographical way with the help of artist Dave McKean.
What is scary now is that when I try and remember bits of that past, I don't anymore. What I remember are Dave McKean drawings. My past is gradually being replaced by a huge comic.
Why did you decide to use collage to illustrate Neil's childhood in Violent Cases?
Collage is perfect. I mean, collage is absolutely how I remember things. And I've been doing a lot of collages and building up these, photocopying things onto acetate so you could see things through and over, and little portions of material and little bits of leaves and stuff, just as like the little memory buzzes, it has a particular feel. An ivy leaf has particular connotations. It has particular. You're used to seeing ivy in particular situations, as opposed to a different kind of leaf, and it's as subtle as that.
Have you ever had the experience of talking to somebody who was around when you were a child, and suddenly realizing what happened? The point you suddenly go, do you know, she must have been falling down drunk. That was why they had to keep taking her off into, those kind of, those moments of adult knowledge that illuminate events that you've either remembered or forgotten that could not assign correct significance to. What I tried to do in Mr. Punch is build up a set of scenarios in which, if you read it from an adult perspective, you have a number of different options as for what could have happened, but they are all options you are seeing from an adult. You almost wish that you could have grabbed the kid and got him to look in the right place.
Right.
Because he didn't know what was important, and he didn't know what kind of stories could have been going on. And it's quite possible to go in and draw lines between these events in the text as an adult. But you have to do it as an adult. You can't do it as a kid.
That might explain my weird Aunt Walter. Those moments of adult knowledge which Neil mentioned show that what's traumatic for an adult might not be for a child. That fact really struck me while talking to author Michael Moorcock. I remember it was early December, and I was here, and I remember Michael was there, and I remember I remember. How have the imaginary landscapes in your fiction been shaped by your childhood memories?
Very fundamentally. I mean, an enormous amount of my childhood landscape was World War II bomb sites. I was greatly privileged as a child to enjoy them. I mean, these were not traumatic memories. I went through the Blitz and all that stuff, and I saw the Battle of Britain. And my mother, I mean, I didn't think I did, but my mother remembers, or rather my uncle remembers my mother holding me up to watch it. I mean, it's sort of thing that you don't really, the notion of everybody kind of huddled in shelters was, as it were, not entirely true, because people were actually going out to watch. I mean, in a way, a lot of my images, which people might see as being, as it were, significantly pessimistic, are actually rather cheerful as far as I'm concerned. I mean, large bomb sites are, my idea of a good time.
My favorite speculative fiction story about childhood memories is Harlan Ellison's Nebula Award winner, Jeff B. is 5, about a boy who never ages while the culture of America declines around him. And memory also flows through Harlan's recent novella, Mefisto in Onyx. The telepathic hero of this story, Rudy Paris, can jump into other people's thoughts and even rewrite their recollections. But a daring leap into the mind of a convicted serial killer triggers repressed memories in Rudy that threaten to shatter his own sanity.